want a garden so I can grow, and you can only go so far on your own.
Hello, so I'm Maddy and I'm with Grace, and we are in Cornwall at Aranya's garden in a nice sheltered space during a storm. And Grace, I really want to ask you about animals in permaculture. So I want to ask you about how do we design our land with animals to ensure their highest well-being and their highest good, not just looking at them in terms of yields, but looking at them in looking at our systems in terms of creating well-being and health.
Yes, I think that's actually a really interesting question, because I think part of it is just really being intentional with actually designing for animals, not for yields. Because as we've evolved permaculture to include people care, I think we can also involve it to include the care of all living beings. And so we want our plants and our animals and the things that are living in our environment to be as healthy and as happy as possible. And so beyond just thinking about the bare requirements to make an animal live, we can think of the things that will allow the animal to thrive. And when animals thrive, they are healthier, they are more abundant, it's easier to care for them, they're less likely to cause problems or have problems. So it makes it a lot easier to raise them, and they're more fun to have around. So that's level one. Level two is thinking about how animals exist in nature. When we have our often common like ruminant animals like sheep, cows, goats, or even animals like pigs and chickens, we can see that when animals are in large herds or flocks in nature, they are bunched and moving. So they congregate in a small area, eat what's there, and then move before disturbing the area to the point where it can't regrow. And so they actually increase fertility, aid carbon sequestration, like really enhance the ecosystem by their very being. So where we have in a lot of permaculture systems and farms is animals who are kept in one area, and it over time, no matter how big the area is, they'll slowly degrade the area because they're not moving like they do in a natural system. So one system that I think works really well is a central drylot system. So a central drylot system is where you have a barn or other shelter, the food and your water for the animals in an area that has good drainage. It's not going to be an issue if it's too dry, too wet. You don't even have to worry about it having grass or anything like that. Often it would have wood chips or sand or gravel instead, because you want this area to stay clean and dry and be easily maintained. And then you have multiple pastures or pens or systems where you run the animals around that with gates, and you open one at a time, let the animals in, let them graze it down, and then pull them out before they degrade the area. And then if you're in a time when all of your pastures happen to be overly saturated with water because you've had an unexpected rainstorm or something, you can keep them in a dry lot for a number of days while the other systems can dry out, so they're not compacting, they're not muddying systems and degrading it. But it also allows you to easily rotate between systems. So that's a really low care. Once it's set up, all you do is open a gate. I'm like, okay, this one looks like it's been grazed enough. I'll close it up, open the next one. It cuts down on everything that's a problem. Compaction, erosion, pests, and makes the animals a lot happier. So that's one system that I think works really well.
We had a chicken system in Hampshire many years ago, And we did exactly that. We had gated runs, and on the runs we tried to plant as much forage as we possibly could, and then we rotated the chickens, and we had ducks as well, and we let them into the vegetable garden to forage and then close them out of it, because obviously they would have crushed delicate plants and things like that. But so we didn't have I never liked these tiny chicken tractors which you move every day, because I still felt the animals' welfare was questionable, and it was too much of an intensive system. But I really love it when it's designed often as a huge circle, when you have that drylot in the middle, and then you can rotate it round the circle like a clock.
Yeah, and on the edges of the system you can often plant forage species, so even you can add in extra things like, I'm going to plant mulberry trees all around the chicken coop. It'll provide shade, it'll drop fruit right in, free food for my chickens, or comfrey, or anything else that's a good forage for the animals, and it has an extra border application for the animals to be supported.
But in order to do that, you have to be able to rotate, otherwise they just get overbrowsed and they don't survive.
Yeah, so you have to be able to rotate. And by rotating, you're not going to have to be cleaning up manure, because it's going to naturally be the right amount of manure to fertilize the systems. You're going to have a lot less incidents where you're going to need things like your animals are going to have worms or other parasites because they've been browsing in an area that has too much manure in it. And you're going to cut down on your food costs because they're able to eat out of their environment. It just makes it easier all around, less cleaning, less medication, less food bills, and happier animals in a more natural setting.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you, Maddy.
Thanks.